would they continue?
No, it doesn't matter what you do. Little channel, big channel. If you've got the wrong content, you're going to be demonetized.
Can't settle this damn thing. Ah, bugger. They shall have darkness.
Yeah.
That's all they deserve. Wah, 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 wah. Welcome to the silence of the Boyt. It's coming. Brace yourself.
No, it's not. It's never going to be silent. People will
Oh,
come and go.
some of the monkeys won't perform unless there's pennies thrown their way. Do you know what I mean?
You just got to build your channel on your own merit. But just do it for fun like I do.
Well, a lot of people build it on lies, deception, misleading information, and wars that don't exist.
Yeah, no, just...
That's why the silence of the Boyt is upon us.
It's just like,
Clarice.
it's just like a broken record. That plane sounds horrible.
Yes, sounds like it's dropped a gear. Hello, Susan Brown.
Hi, Susan.
Suspect number 1.
He's got the... What's her name? Hitchcock voice on for you, Susan.
The silence of the Boyt has begun. Step aside. The freight train of justice is upon us. We're all in the mark. I never knew Susan was dyslexic. We're all in the dark. Doesn't it add to the suspense?
It's just... Yeah, you probably get done for...
Look, lights. Gone. Just like that. You had your moment in the light, Susan.
No, you can't show yourself smoking anymore. You get demonetized.
Yeah, probably. It's
It
been
will. It'll come to that.
Oh, it's coming to all the clean edges that are required to operate, that's for sure, which is a good thing. Advertising dollars paid by companies should be well spent. And let's be honest, at the moment they're not.
That's true.
What have you been up to, Susan? Have you been a good girl? It's Halloween shortly. Stick to the streets, don't go into the moor. Very cool here tonight. Unusually. It's probably about 12 degrees, and in 2 days' time it's going to be 37 Celsius. About 100. You've been good. Well, your hand can go in the cookie jar this one time. Sunday here today. We had a fairly lazy day. Didn't do too much. But the warm days are coming, which is good. It what? I said your hand may go in the cookie jar, because you said you've been good. You could just be saying that, though. Susan Brown would make a good detective story. A bit like Perot.
Oh yeah, good name actually, Susan.
Susan Brown and the Deathly Hallows. Yeah, that works.
The Deathly Hallows by Susan Brown.
Yes. Yes. Sounds very theatrical. it so dark? Because every now and then I'll give you a little bit of a flash. Susan, the lights. Walk towards the lights. Oh, gone. Had your chance. We won't have a hydro bill soon. Whacking on a lot of solar panels shortly with the battery. We'll be independent of the corporate world. G'day, Tony. Here you go, mate. My little budgie smuggler. How are you? How the are ya? Got a whole heap of Warringah sand down his jockstrap for sure. Chomping on a couple of raw onions. Bit of a health freak, as Tony Habit. No, not a van. That shan't happen. I've built vans over the years. When was the last one I did a camper van? I built one up in...
that was a couple of years ago.
About 2016. Got an old wreck of a Ford, gutted it, fitted it out, solar panels, everything. Sold it, made a little profit. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, when I've got the screen dark, I can actually see the writing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Sometimes the lighting doesn't allow me to read them.
So we've been searching for free music to use in our videos.
Type in the website for people to have a look at it.
What did
Well, I
say?
found some website where you can just credit the website, very simple, and use their music. But some of it you can't, some you've got to pay for, but most of it is free.
If it's got a black button, it's free.
There we are, Ben Sound.
And you've just got to credit that site.
Yeah.
You've just got to put in their website. That's all you've got to do.
Little tidbits of music. When I do the Susan Brown mysteries,
Yes.
that's where the music will be coming from. Susan Brown and the Murder on the Orient Express. That's a tough job for Detective Brown. Is she up to it?
Susan Bragg could be your pen name.
Yes. Two dead bodies in carriage 5, where both of them were strangled. Detective Brown walks into the cabin. Yes, they're dead. Susan Brown never missed a trick, I tell you.
Gee, Susan Bragg's got a deep voice.
Yes. It's all the chemicals used to change it. Mr. Seeds, I can't say it's nice to see you again. That's true. There's lots of new things being implemented on YouTube that a lot of people are unaware of, and it's going to bring a lot of channels down. It's a deliberate ploy. You're going to have channels whinge, they've shut down my AdSense and I've got no money coming in. It's a good thing overall, let's be honest. Advertising money spent on channels that are worthless and full of rubbish is not good investment for the advertiser. So it's slowly but surely going to happen. And I've already seen channels being demonetized, people losing videos, wake up in the morning, oh, where'd the video go?
Oh my God, I remember that, Chamo. Two dead boys got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other.
Oh, we have a poets class going here.
And then the other one is, one bright morning in the middle of the night, two dumb boys got up to fight. And then I can't really remember the rest of that.
Moist Fist says, my fist is moist. I know why your fist is moist, because you let go of the 10-pin bowl and ball up your ass. That is
Actually-
always going to be a problem. Stage left, bow. Au revoir.
Actually, I think what I just said was the beginning of the other one.
I wonder if some of these, well, let's say, subversive channels that just are deceptive and lie and forever beg for money are aware of how soon the curtain is closing. I don't think they are. It's going to be interesting. Will monkeys perform without being paid peanuts? Probably not, if you get my drift. They certainly don't want your adulation or love or affection. They just want your money. That's all I want. There's one sure way to dry your fist, is to slam the microwave oven on your wrist and turn it on high. Be a man. Don't worry about the pain. That certainly pulls out the boys from the men. It's a good cleansing that's going to be occurring. You'll be left with just people who want to communicate, and talk, and show things that are interesting. That'd be great.
Oh, that's what it's the beginning of it, yeah. I'm trying to think of the poem now.
You got her thinking about poetry,
I got it. Oh, yeah.
Chamo.
That's what I first started. One bright morning in the middle of the night, two
Sorry,
dumb
go on.
boys got up to fight. Buffering.
I'm buffering.
Stop.
Is it difficult to urinate? No, it's very simple. There's classes you can take in it, of course. If you're not experienced, though, even if you're a man, I want you to sit on the seat because it could be quite messy otherwise. Let's start at the bottom and work your way up.
I saw a birdie flying by. He dropped a message from the sky. As I wiped it from my eye, I thanked the Lord that cows don't fly.
Yep, that's an old one. What about the boy stood on the burning deck? There's so many things to add to that. I think the most interesting thing, Chamo, will be their abhorrence. Why is this happening to me? I'm an honest person. I give you great content. Really? It's called reality. It's called advertisers saying, I'd like my money spent wisely, please. Don't advertise on Seeds to Freedom channel. He doesn't do anything. He does a couple of cooking shows. Talks to some strangers. Well, I don't want to spend my advertising dollars there. And if they close my AdSense, I'd say, oh, well, that was probably a good decision. But other channels that use it for a source of leverage to garnish money at any particular point, be it PayPal, there's millions of them, isn't there?
I don't really.
GoFundMes, they're all going to be sort of saying, well, if I'm not going to get monetized,
I don't pay.
I'll use these other avenues. Ta-da! YouTube will be saying, actually, since you're not got Super Chat anymore and you're not making us any money, we've just decided to shut you down because you keep talking about other money avenues. Yes, that one's coming as well.
I don't really take that much notice. I watch what I
It's
want to watch.
it's a sensible business decision not to spend your advertising dollars where you're not going to sell something.
I watch what I want to watch.
It's the end of the Boyt as we know it. You could do a couple of songs about YouTube, like there are certain people that you'd probably be able to categorise with this portion of the song that I'm mutilating. And it seems to me you live your life through a camera and a lens, never knowing who to beg to when the rain sets in. I'll just stop there. Clever though, think about it. Through a camera and a lens. They are amongst us in numbers that we never thought possible, Shamo. Evening, Los. We are both well. Well, at the moment. Bloody cold here. It's 12 degrees now and it'll be 37 on Tuesday. Work that one out. But there's, when people, particularly in marketing, use the word "what's trending." Well, I think what I've seen, and I haven't been to a lot of channels lately, but I see the same remarks being made, is that people have had enough of the nonsense. Chamo, if you know what I mean. All the lies, deception, money grabbing, lots of people are saying they're sick to death of it. And that would be reflected with YouTube saying the same thing.
Well, most people should have got a survey from YouTube. It would have been up the top of your page when you
I
logged
never do
in.
a survey because it's questions they want answered.
I did it. I told them what I thought.
Thank you, Chamo. We miss you as well. And you are welcome to come and stay. Might just cost you a little bit in transport to get here, but barbecue's always good. We'll have the pool going by the time you get here.
I have to do a video of poems one night, one day.
Poems are good. They're thoughtful, insightful. Some are just frivolous, but most of them have meaning.
I don't mean all to be serious.
No, I mean, I'm saying
Few
poems can
funny
be
ones.
everything. They can be funny, very poignant. But I think as an advertising platform, the advertisers aren't getting a fair deal. Particularly when they put ads on my channel, which people apparently watch because I get pennies at the end of the month,
Yeah, but that's
which
all,
we then just give away. But
that's all you do.
But when it boils down to it, if it was my company, I wouldn't advertise on my channel. I'd be saying to me, you're fired. No one buys anything on my goods that you sell. Let's see if someone can make up a funny poem. Let's see if someone can run with the change in the song I just made. You know, the one where I said, and it seems to me, you live your life through a camera and a lens. You could add so much to that.
Or you can write a song, Joe.
No, Elton will probably call me and say, right, copyright, you've lost your channel.
Yeah, funny poems. Susan. Everybody submit their funny poem and we'll read them out. Hey, there you go. That's what we can do.
Yeah, we might be able to send them a little container of Vegemite as a prize.
That's a good idea, but you have to give them your email address.
It's not really a great prize for some people, but still it's a prize in its essence.
That's a good idea. Submit your poems and we'll read them out. We'll try and get in character of the poem.
It's like
Keep it clean.
if Boyt had an Academy Award, there's so many categories of the Academy, of course, you'd start be thinking about who would be nominated. Best Actor in a Begging Role. Nominations are, man, the list would be huge.
No, I don't want to do stuff like that.
Rich Life of the Road Trips. No, I haven't, but I'll after this I'll go and have a gander and have a look. I did years of travelling when I was a young fella, either just hitchhiking or had an old car, used to work a couple of weeks, fish and play for a few more weeks, and it was good fun. There we go. There was a man from Nantucket
Susan's going to do a limerick.
who used to piss in a bucket.
What about Skinner? There was a young man called Skinner who took a young lady to dinner.
There's heaps of those.
I know the rest of it, but I won't
Yeah.
say it.
That worked. That's beautiful, Chamo. See, that's a Boyt poem now. There was a man from Nantucket who used to shit in a bucket. But I'm thinking of the good side of all this downturn in revenue for certain channels and how they just won't hang around because, like I say, some monkeys won't work when there's no peanuts.
Well, it'll just prove who's fed income about just be having fun.
That's right.
If they don't care about the money, they're not going to go through advertising this, do that. I've lost this, I've lost that. I know. Whatever.
Chamo, you know when you present the truth, some people don't want to hear it. And particularly if you know that what you're saying is fact, they don't want to hear those sort of facts or truth because it works against the narrative. So you're not a troll, you're a deliverer of truth, which is something they'd like to hide. Someone said to me today that the man in the van is going to now do a new GoFundMe for solar panels. I nearly pissed myself laughing. Is that because his teeth are all fixed now? Don't know. Hilarious. like no one knows. Yeah, everyone knows. You're a scammer. Yeah, Lois, I think it'll be a bit different than that. I think channels are just going to firstly get demonetised, and then there'll be another YouTube, Google policy that you can't mention other forms of payment, which will negate them having a channel altogether, because they won't be able to mention people like PayPal or Streamlabs or anyone, you name it, any other form of payment. YouTube say, well, if we catch you in the side chat or mention it in your video, you lose your channel. So they're not getting any revenue. Do you think they're going to hang around? I don't think so. 10,000 subs would be a good start, I think, Lois. For an example, and you'd still pay child support.
No, actually there is a cut-off age, and I think it's around 24, 25 here as well.
No, when I looked at it, well, it might have changed now, but years ago it was till the completion of education.
No, towards a cut-off age as well.
And if you are entitled to pay child support, so you should. Very simple. You'd be paying for that child if it lived with you or not. I'm not actually sure who you were talking about who blocked you. I don't think it was the man in the van, because there's no way that he'd ever have a child, and he would be adverse to anyone going to college.
I think he is talking about.
Really?
Yeah, he is talking about Elbow.
Sadly, I think that man in the can is damned. I think in the end what will happen is his health will fail. And Susan Brown will go to Carriage 5 and see the body there, and realise it's another case of the mysterious death of the shawarma. Bum, bum, bum. Stay tuned for next week. Susan Brown in Midnight Express. Hand on the screen. There's a few channels I go to, a bit like this, where someone talks and you have a bit of a yak and a bit of a laugh. I enjoy that. But I will get the panels going. Only, like I say, I only have one or two max people on. There's one thing I don't like, and I don't know what you guys like, but it gets, you know, some panels I've even been on where someone starts eating chips. And I say, mate, can you just mute? And they go, what? What are you talking about? Or they drink. Or they're yelling at the kids, close the back door, you mongrel. And I'm thinking, just mute. Just this button. Use it. So I have a very low tolerance of that, because it sort of breaks up a storyline.
That happened to us once, actually. Years ago, you were live streaming, and I don't know, we had all the grandkids over, I think, and someone in the chat typed, you're at Walmart.
Yeah, no, I always mute now if something's happening. Mind you, I haven't been on panels for a long time. Yes, some people won't be told though, Chamo.
Well, we'll have to check.
They know everything
We'll have to check that channel out.
until they get a letter in the mail saying, we've just taken your tax return of 20,000. You're not getting it. It's going to your ex-wife. Have a nice day. What? I think life is a lot more simpler for you now, Chemo. Beautiful ocean, calming afternoons, sitting on the grass, relaxing. Yeah, that's the go. You're probably saying, why didn't I do this 30 years ago?
So it's funny as well, is it? Okay.
I'll have a look at him. Rich Life for Road Trips. I'll have a look. But one thing I'm finding, and we talked about it today, about how many people you do meet, and some of them, after time, and I give people a long piece of rope, become very disingenuous. They do things for monetary gain, but all along, some of them even were anti. One of the sad ones at the moment, and I mean this sincerely, one of the sad cases, I popped in the other night listening to a man who used to live in a garage and play very loud guitar and sing badly, who now lives in a Ford Focus and complains, this man has fallen from grace. He had $25 million worth of Amazon shares.
Oh, God, no. You're right.
He worked for Boeing,
You're right.
and now apparently that was never true. And he was an anti-earbagger for all the things he would say about how disgusting they are. Well, when I popped into that chat room for about 30 seconds, these were the words that were used. If you don't pay me money now, I'm going to close my channel. And I thought, that sounds a good idea. But I don't think it'll ever happen. It's a bit like someone standing on the rooftop of a 5-story apartment, turning around to the sheriff and saying, well, if you can give me $10,000, I won't jump. The sheriff would say, actually, it's a nice day for a jump. Away you go. Seriously? You don't pay me money and I'm going to close my channel? That's a threat?
Sometimes it's funny, and you don't want to say his name. Sometimes it's funny just to go listen and go off his nut. Little laugh.
Oh, but I mean, on a serious note, I do feel sorry for him because obviously there's underlying issues. The main one obviously would be alcoholism. Amazing when you get an alcoholic off the alcohol, they become a half-decent person, nearly instantaneously, within a few days. And then you start thinking, well, maybe there's a prospect for this person to move forward, get a job, interact with people on a social level, instead of just screaming and yelling at them and threatening them that you're going to close the channel because you're not giving me any money. That has to be the worst form of e-begging I've ever heard. I'm going to start a channel tomorrow and say, Chamo, if you don't give me money, I'm going to close this channel. And then I go and close it. And guess what? See, Chamo, I won. Hang on. I didn't win, did I? Place just gets crazier. I once, and this is true, was on television. And for my half an hour that I spent there, they paid me $35,000.
Are you going?
And I was seen by probably 8 million people.
I'm confused. Who's going? Chamo's not going, is he, Susan? Or are you going, Susan? I'm confused.
Yeah, no, I would never say that to someone, Chamo, but he certainly needs to drop. There's that song. You know that song, Whiskey Lullaby? He put a bottle to his head and pulled the trigger. It's a bit like that. It's like alcoholism is awful for everyone involved. Family, mum and dad, siblings.
Oh, right. I read that wrong.
Terrible.
I read Susan's comment wrong. I'm sorry. Excuse
I'm sure Shamo was using that as a metaphor.
No, I read Susan's...
Just go away and don't come back.
Yeah, I read Susan's comment wrong. I read the R as an N.
I just find it's like the bottom of YouTube is coming like a homeless refuge where a lot of people gather who would really be in real life sitting on the side of the road in a tent, which is sad, but they're gathering in numbers online and figuring, yeah, panhandling on the streets doesn't get much money, but I can tell a whole heap of lies and deceptive things online and people will send me money, and they do, because they don't like seeing someone hurt and in pain.
It is dark, Katie.
The light is in your face. You must tell me the truth now or we'll be lost. How you going, Keepin? But what you two just did there, by introducing yourself, this is what this format was always for. Interaction with people, strangers, maybe later on becoming friends or good associates. And like I've always said, the word love that's used on the bottom of YouTube is absurd. Everyone says, oh, I love you. Yeah, I love you too. Yeah. Why use that word? I'm not going to say, Chamo, I love you. That's not going to happen. I'll say, Chamo, you're a good bloke and I like you. Because in real life, that word is very important. It shouldn't be just bandied around willy-nilly. Yeah, well done, Mr. Gangel, on cue. But, and I'm not telling people not to say it, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. Just that it gets blurred in reality.
Yes, you've always got that street light that flickers somewhere in the town, isn't it? Haven't you, keeping quite eerie?
You mean that?
Yeah, no, Keeping was saying he's got one that's dim light in his town.
And that's what life is all about, Shamo. Exactly what you just put in a very simple sentence.
See, Susan loves me.
She's that kind of gal. But as the detective goes, she'll have to lose that. It's going to be hardened up, be more rigid. But that's what the format that I've always believed this should be. It's a case of meeting people, get to like them, and maybe in real life you'll meet them, and then a formulation of a friendship may take place. Online, it's like everything else. It's just colours, whistles and smoke.
But all colours agree in the dark.
That's true. But let's be honest, there's been a lot of people over the short time that I've been on YouTube, for about 10 years, that I've seen I thought were okay, and then in the end you worked out they're just scamming mongrels. But it took you time. You can tell when someone's not right. A bag and pull it out even down. Look at that sentence. What did Seed say? Because that's the truth. They will do whatever they need to do to loosen your purse strings in very convincing fashion. And sadly, if it boils down to it, when people do give and get deceived, it's probably a lesson well done. It's probably unfortunate. It might have been a good sum of money, but they probably won't do it again. Or if they do it again, fool me once, you know the saying. Hello, Lake Shadow. That sounds like a drama series from the 40s.
Well, Lake Shadow could do something.
Lake Shadow. Tonight's episode of Susan Brown
is
on the Midnight Express.
Lake Shadow.
From the studios of Lake Shadow. Yeah, we could make a whole company out of this.
Yes, you could write a story. Bit Lake Shadow in there with Susan Brown.
Yes. Constable Lake Shadow and Detective Susan Brown. You are a drama series from the 40s. I like listening. Don't tell anyone but I like listening to old radio shows. And we actually do like, when we get into bed sometimes, we'll flick on some of these old cinematic videos that were taken from the 1890s and early 20th century. It is fascinating to watch, aren't they?
Because they
they fix the speed up and they re-enhance
them.
Yeah. But I do like old radio shows. Like the ones that you'd have when I was a kid, and I used to be a kid in the UK. You'd have, used to be every Wednesday night, the mystery, horror or sci-fi show would come on, and would just start off with, "This is the BBC. Do not leave the room. Do not leave the house. Tonight's episode is The Stalker." This is from our advertisers, Omo. Now, if your husband leaves and you turn the Omo upside down, it says "Old Man Out." If you happen to be the man of the house and a woman's gone to work, you turn it the other way around and it says "Old Woman Out." Just to let your sexy neighbour know that it's all clear. Now back to the radio show.
That's an old one. I know.
Yes, I like the old movies. They were comical. in the way that we look at things now, but they were pretty damn convincing if you happen to be in the 30s to the 50s, for sure. But there's too much, and this is just me, too much emphasis on immediate gratification. What do I mean by that? Well, everyone wants everything now. No one's willing to wait. Like, people take out a loan to get something because they want it now. Very common in Australia for a young couple to spend $50,000 on a wedding, $30,000 on a honeymoon, get a new home, and then they start getting envelopes in the mail saying, you've forgotten to pay your mortgage, and your loan's out of date, and we're going to take your house away. Very common. No one's willing to save cash to buy something they want. I always tell people, you spend as much as you like on things you need, but have a good think about it. Look in the mirror and say, do I really have to have this want? If you've got the money, you've saved it, absolutely.
Yep. Issues probably haven't changed for many, many moons, like issues that people had back then, we have now. A different way of looking at things though these days.
I think more so today, Lake, is that people are exposed quicker now. Because, like if someone was scamming people in real life, well, there's old ones like going to an old person's home saying, I'll respray your roof for $3,000, and they get up there and just stamp on the roof a bit and put a hose on, and they disappear and they haven't done anything. Well, you're probably not going to catch those blokes. It's not nice for the old couple that they've screwed out of $3,000. But online, there's a video history that doesn't go away, which I find hilarious. Like I just told you, I heard today that someone that we know who lives in a van, stinky van, is now going to start a new GoFundMe for solar panels.
That's
like, hang on a sec. We know that's been done before.
That's a good idea, Lake. You're doing step-by-step controlling yourself. That's good.
That's a big step, yeah. Another one is just to cut off your internet. That'll fix that. If you've got the money, like I say, you go for it. And as you get older, you're very discerning in how you spend it, because usually it's limited. Getting cold. I can't wait for December 20th. I see.
No,
I was only joking. Like,
I can go without the internet, but I wouldn't. I do enjoy having it, that I can go do what I want online. Well, to a point.
I think the things that the internet have replaced, I'm sure you guys could come up with some things, but one of the fundamental things is social interaction in the real world. And I've said it before, even young people who are never off their phone, but even while they're talking to you, they're talking to someone saying they're going to buy a toilet roll down the shop on Twitter. It's very important they get that message.
Or they put a message in Facebook telling you what they're doing, and then I wrote mine once, I ate a biscuit.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. And so they live their life online. But they're the first ones. Like I say, I've had this out with people before saying, I haven't got time to do any gardening, or I haven't got any time to go play tennis. But they'll spend 10 hours on the internet. So they do have the time, they just choose not to. The direction of entertainment
if they're capable
comes from that on button on a computer or a phone.
Oh, if they're capable and able. Yes, I agree.
Look, I think young people spend far more time than we do. Older people on the internet. Well, they're never off it.
Everybody has their moments, their days. I mean, there's days we don't go on because we're busy doing other stuff, and then
it's not that important. Like,
then there are times that we just actually sit and veg by either watching Netflix, or we do watch something on YouTube.
Or old men like me have naps in the afternoon.
Yeah, you have nana naps.
Yes. Maybe I'll just do a video of people watching me nap.
Yeah, so I'll video him and you see me creeping around the house real quiet while he's having a nap because can't disturb him because he needs.
It doesn't bother me. Noise and light never bother me.
Because you need to sleep.
I always get up early, and I'll probably in the afternoons, if I can, probably half an hour. That half hour, I reckon, is godsend. It's good for you. Probably people in this chat would admit to having a nap every now and then themselves.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to look at how you sleep. Sometimes at night you don't sleep good, or sometimes you might only have 4 hours.
Yep.
Or there are times we've gone to bed at 8:30 and we've fell asleep straight away, and then next thing it's 7 o'clock in the morning.
That's all for me. Talking about sleep and making me yawn. I do know that by using this tool, the internet, we can learn off each other. No one's got all the answers, and everyone is good at something that I'm not good at.
Hey, come on, I'm good at everything.
Well, except you, of course. But there are exceptions.
I'm perfect.
But it's a great tool for learning knowledge, and sometimes that knowledge will save you money. I mean, YouTube's fantastic if you've got a problem with your tap or something wrong with your toilet or something wrong with your gas line. You just Google it and go, I'll give that a go. And it works. Saves you money.
Wentworth.
On the
Oh,
inside the sun don't shine. Ooh.
Wasn't that off Prisoner?
And the rain don't fall.
I get confused with
Well,
that.
if she's talking about Wentworth, it's the same principle of the prison. Vinegar tits. How are you?
Yeah, we had this discussion once before because I got confused. But on the inside was the song from Prisoner.
I've done that late. I remember over East I put my suit on, shaved.
Chamo has said that.
Oh, sorry, Chamo. No, Link.
Chamo said.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, I've got old eyes.
Oh,
Sorry, Chamo.
You better sleep.
But yeah, no, I used to work 2 jobs for about 20 years. I used to do survey during the day and be a night manager at one of the supermarkets, stacking shelves, or be the organiser for stacking shelves. And I got up one afternoon and I rushed out the front, not knowing whether it was, seriously, I didn't know whether it was morning or night. What should I put on? And then I went back inside and thought, well, the sun's coming up, so I'm going to go and do some survey. But yeah.
Or where you've got up to take your kids to school and it's actually you're a day early before school holidays are finished. I've done that.
One of the most annoying things, it's not age, everyone does this throughout your age, is that you'll go to the shop and you've left your shopping list at home. And then you bring home a whole heap of food and goodies, and then you pick up the shopping list at home.
Yes.
And not one of the items on the shopping list did you buy. Have you done that? We have.
Yeah. I was saying, what was that? Was it yesterday I said I thought it was Sunday all day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you'll only go to the shop to get milk and bread. Then you spend $100.
I think we all go through that. Will you get up and walk into a room and think, why have I just come in here? What was I going to do?
Yeah, I sort of go to the fridge and think, right, I come to the fridge to get something, and I can't work it out. I close the fridge, walk back to the counter, and then I remember. It's like, that's annoying.
I think that sometimes because your mind is so busy.
Well, we're pretty, because I always like looking for a bargain, and I will sometimes go to the shop and I'll determine what we're having for tonight because there's some nice lamb chops that are 80% off. And I think, well, we'll have lamb chops tonight. And that's a good way to go shopping. Just if you see a bargain, grab it. Imagine if you went to the shop and you only bought whatever food you needed for today. So that might include a little bit of bread, milk, butter, some potatoes, carrots, I don't know, whatever you're cooking for that night. Imagine if you shopped like that. Because that's what we used to do.
We have that service, like our supermarkets do that. You go online, and it's click and pick. So you click order it, go to the back and pick it up, or they'll deliver it.
One of the things that is relatively expensive, it's a lot more expensive in the US, is meat. Meat is okay here, but then if I'm going to get like a massive T-bone that weighs £2 and it says $20, and then I walk in to see that T-bone and it says $6, well, I'm having T-bone for tonight, even though I probably was going to make spaghetti bog or something. So it's determined on occasions by what has been reduced. But you can tell, you don't need to be told, you can tell by yourself if you're throwing food away that you probably need to change your habits. You know what I mean? Oh, half a chicken. I was going to get round to it, but I didn't. Well, you can always pull the meat off a chicken carcass, put it in a container, put it in the freezer. People leave it in the fridge and go, it's been in there 3 days now, I don't want to eat it. Could be going off.
Yeah, well, we do that with chicken and fish anyway.
Mm.
We pull the meat off straight away and freeze it otherwise.
Yeah, we've actually done it when we've got, like we used to be able to pick up chickens for $2, didn't we?
Yeah.
Near the end of a night, you go and get 2 or 3 chickens. We'd both be in the kitchen pulling all the meat off and putting it in containers or bags.
Won't leave chicken or fish in the fridge more than a day.
Mm. But there's normally, in most people's homes, because I'm curious, you open up the cupboards, most people have an enormous amount of food. And yet they're the ones that say, we've got nothing to eat tonight. Remember Jess would say, I don't know what we're going to eat tonight. And I went into the cupboards, there's about $800 worth of food. Freezers stacked, and she'd say, yeah, but the steak's not thawed. Okay. So we're going by Kentucky. And I'm thinking, right, eh?
Now you'll learn all that, Chamo. You should start now. Just do it now, Chamo. Saying he's worried about when he retires about just going and buying what he wants, won't be able to.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, when you're retired, you've got time to grow a few veggies. I'll even send you the seeds, Shamo. Show you how to do it. But I'm pretty sure you know how to do it anyway.
No, because
He's got chickens.
You do grocery shopping and then you go down the shop for whatever reason and you end up buying something else. Not many people actually shop for the week or the fortnight where they don't
No, we never do.
have to go back to the shop.
No. We shop for about 3 days is what we do.
Because we get fresh bread and milk.
We eat an
and
enormous
fruit.
amount of vegetables. We really do.
Yeah.
I've always worked on the principle to waste not, want not, because it was inbred in me from my grandmother and mother.
But I've had to do it. I've had to shop for 6 weeks straight because I had no choice. I had to buy
when you live in the bush, yeah.
long life milk. I had to buy enough bread for the 6 weeks, so it got frozen. My meat. Was a lot of frozen veggies, obviously. Could occasionally get fresh fruit and veg, but where I live, that didn't happen often. Maybe once a fortnight, that was fresh.
I'm not a huge eater of bread. I like bread, but my wife would eat, and I'd be fair in saying 4 times the amount of bread I do. But that's okay, that's what she likes. But we buy good bread like grain bread. We got an unusual one a couple of days ago. It was dark rye. It was black as you can imagine, but it was delicious, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We don't mind trying all different grains of bread. Some people must have their white bread. It's the peripheral things that are expensive when you go shopping, like chemicals. No, chemicals,
Chocolate.
hairsprays. I'm not saying because you use hairspray, I'm just saying they're expensive items. Food is not, or veggies are reasonably cheap in Australia.
No, not all of them. If you go to a fruit and veg, yeah, but
What I'm saying is though,
can be expensive.
I could prove without a doubt that I could bring Shamo over here, and for $10 to $20 a week, you'd eat like a king. I got a great belief. You get a chicken, me and Shamo eat about 2/3 of the chicken. Well, I ain't going to throw that away. I'll put that chicken straight into a pot with some carrots, celery, onions, bits and pieces, bit of pepper, salt, and it will be a broth, and it'll be chicken soup that will feed us another 2 or 3 meals. So a lot of people just throw that third of a chicken away.
Yeah, that's true. Like when you get your spending under control, because we prefer to eat unsalted butter than margarine.
Yeah, we don't. I use salt mainly when I'm prepping, say, a steak or something like that. I will season it, but I rarely put salt in any cooking that I do. I don't know what your eating habits are like, Shamo, but we have quite a diverse food range, don't we? It always includes vegetables, but it could be fish, could be steak, could be sausages, could be lasagna, could be spaghetti bog. And we like those very basic, filling, homely meals like stews and casseroles.
And sometimes it's fine just to have a toasted sandwich.
Yeah. Sometimes we just have cheese crackers and a bit of tomato cut up. It's good enough. But I know that for $20 I can feed someone and they'll say, that was a good week's food. And they'll be thinking, why can't I do that? I think the secret is that, and I'm not putting anyone down by saying this, but if you can cook well, you generally think about food a bit more. About what can I do with these leftovers? Because I don't consider leftovers something you throw out. I think leftovers are now the start of a new meal. I think I'm a good cook. I don't think I'm a great cook. I love learning from other people, just little tips and tricks. You never know everything. It's not possible. But I'll give you the greatest example. If I had a little bit of chicken left over, say the chicken off one drumstick, that's all I had. But I've got some leftover carrots, potatoes and some onions and whatever is in the fridge. I'll put a bit of olive oil in a pan. I'll throw all that in, chicken and veg, throw it all around and get it heated up a little bit. Crack 3 eggs, stir them up, pour them over the top, and that's a meal. A lot of people might think, well, they're all leftovers, should have thrown them out. I'm saying, oh, try this, sit down and try a bit of this. They go, wow, that tastes good. Yeah, that's the stuff you were going to tell me to throw out. So it's not that they're leftovers. I actually do deliberately cook more veggies than we need for one night, knowing that I'm thinking about making something else the next night. So I'm sort of prepping. And boiled potatoes are fantastic. You boil a potato that's basically cooked, not falling apart, and you leave 5 or 6 extra in the fridge. You can cut up a couple and fry them in the morning. They go real crispy. Cut them up in little, chunks. Beautiful. So it's like, so I don't see leftovers as an issue. I see them as an option for another meal. 54? Oh, I remember when I was 54. Oh, yeah. That was a long time ago. Well, Shamo, some people don't make 54. So that's a win-win straight away. I think some of the people that are clever may leave their job or they stop working as we know it, But they create a little thing maybe online where they're ticking over at $500 or $600 a month. That's sort of leverage into semi-retirement. Sort of give up your normal job, and you know what I mean. In Australia, you won't get the pension until you're 65. That's just how it is. Unless you're disabled or whatever, then you'll get an earlier pension. That's sad. Died at 26.
Wow, that's young, Chamo.
Yeah, you missed out. That's the only way of putting it. You've
Yeah.
missed out on what could have been, but I don't know whether it's true for you guys, but my parents took no interest in any of the kids playing sport, or it was all about them. It was sort of a very selfish generation, people born in the 20s and 30s. It's just how it was. Man ruled the roost and woman did as she told, and kids just got on with whatever they could. But it made me, as I grew up with my kids, go to every sports day, follow them on everything they did, help them wherever they sort of failed a little bit, and we worked out where we could improve. And so I took a great deal of interest in my children and their growing up, because it never happened to me, and I thought it was something that needed to be done. No, I agree, Shamo. If you take a year off, you'd be saying, I enjoy this, I'm not going back. I think the secret is to be comfortable when you retire. If that means you've got to tighten up a little bit in these bits of areas and maybe not so much travel, well, that's what you do. Look after yourself. You get time to do the things you always think you never would get to do, like maybe paint, sculpture, take long walks, fish. There's so many things that when you're working you don't get the opportunity to do. And like the old saying goes, a bad day's fishing beats a hard day's work any day.
Yeah.
I know our daughter-in-law is pregnant and she'll be taking off a year at half pay, isn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works, but yeah.
But I don't think Shamo's pregnant, so he won't be able to get the 12 months maternity. Oh, you've done some very clever videos. And it's like, can you make some money out of it? See, people misunderstand me. They say, you always complain about e-burgers. And I'm saying, well, yeah, because they're scamming little shits. But if Shamo turned his channel that he was earning $500 or $600 a month, I'll be saying, you little beauty.
If
You put the effort in.
Yeah, put the effort in.
And you get the reward in AdSense. Great stuff. Nothing wrong with that. When people start sliding down the $sign down the bottom of the chat, which I could have done years ago, which I would never do, then you start thinking, well, why should I be giving you money? I enjoy your videos, but you want me to pay for it now? Like if I took Shamo to lunch, we had a great lunch, we chatted about things, good times we had, we both stand up and I put my hand out and say to Shamo, how about a $20 tip? Yeah, it does sound ridiculous, doesn't it? That's what some people do on YouTube. It's just not the right thing to do.
You'll work it out, Chamo. Start now. Start having a list when you go shopping. Try and stick to that. If you have, try and put, I don't know, get a jar and put $5 in it a week and put it aside. Try and forget about it for 6 months.
What's the difference if you look pregnant? Yeah, it still doesn't count in Australia. You've got to be pregnant to get maternity leave. I have to take into account my girlfriend is 9 years younger. Well, obviously you've got to hit the gym, for starters, and have a keto diet, and maybe a treadmill running 23 out of the 24 hours a day.
So did you read what Blake said? Speaking of fishing, I live on a lake, therefore Lake Shadow. A shadow on the lake.
Sounds a wonderful place to live to me. Age is relative. Gemma said regardless, she could be 9 years older. What's the point? If she was 9, I'd be a bit concerned, but she's not. Well, it's one of those strange situations that do occur. Sometimes a man retires before a woman does. And then there's all these sort of guilt trips that men put on themselves. Well, she's bringing in all the money now and I'm just getting a pension and I feel inadequate. No, if she was 65 and retired, she'd be saying, I'm going out for morning tea with the ladies. See ya. So don't let that ever cross your mind. It is what it is. Yes, and when you were 9, Shamo, she was just an embryo. Deep thought. Hello, Patty. I think
Hi, Patty.
the concept of retirement, and don't take this the wrong way, is people think, I'm closer to death. No. You've now been given an opportunity to do the things you were always talking about. You may not be able to climb Mount Everest, if that was one of the dreams, but hell, you can do a lot of the other things. I've always said, if you can, this might sound strange to some people, on occasions be selfish and buy yourself something. It doesn't have to be extraordinarily expensive, but I want to get a new fishing reel or something. You think, oh, I deserve it. And you treat yourself. Because a lot of us, with kids in particular and grandkids, we're very selfless. We'll tend to spend the last $50 in your wallet on them than yourself. So on occasions, spend it on yourself. Treat yourself. You've been good. But I think the one thing that I am certain of is that when you retire, the option to do nothing is not a good option. Because that's probably not in your normal repertoire. You don't do nothing at the moment if you're working. You do regulation, get up and shave and go to work and do your job and come home. Well, you've got to learn before you give up what you're working, that what am I going to do? And all of you in this room are clever enough to start a little online business of something. Just buy it wholesale and sell it retail. People buy all sorts of things online. So if you've got a little cachet of $400 or $500 coming in a month, plus you're getting a pension, yeah, you're good. You're good to go. Plus you've got something to do. Shamo, I'll give you a little tip. When you die, you get to do nothing all the time.
You might. Well, that's
So,
right, but some people are
Do
like
nothing some of the time, but do something some of the time.
Well, it's not that you won't do anything. You'll just change how you do things or when or what when you retire.
See, is this not something to do? I would probably say it
Yes.
is. But I wouldn't meet you if you didn't do this. But we don't do this all day. Yeah. You don't have to listen to me. You can do nothing all the time if you like. I'll say, what you doing today, Shamo? And you say, nothing. I'll say, you've reached your career highlight. Hello, Buttercup. Yeah, I've known so many people, because you've got so much experience, Paddy. You know what I mean? You've got all this experience of years and years and years. You're an expert in whatever you were doing. And generally, when you leave a place like that, there's a huge vacuum. I knew a guy, I used to work when I was a tallyman in a timber yard, which is grading timber. We had an old guy who was a machinist, and he was 67. And he said, no, I'm going to retire. So he tootled off, and he'd pop in every now and then for a cuppa in the morning, like when you have a morning break, you pull in and have a chat. And then the boss realised that after he retired, we didn't have a machinist. So they employed people to come up from the big city for a few weeks at a time. It was costing them a fortune. And in those days, he was getting paid something like $12 an hour or something like that. And his man said, can you do a couple of days a week? I know you're retired, but are you interested? He said, yep, $50 an hour. And the boss said, yes. because it was costing him a fortune to do what he was doing. And then he trained. He got someone in, and he got them to train with this guy. So that was a smart move.
Yeah, actually, some people are like that, Chamo, because I've got to say, my sister's a bit like that. My sister,
I agree. I don't know you, Shamo, but I just know if I was doing nothing all the time, I'd go batty. Like, got to do something.
Yeah, well, you do general round the
Yeah,
house.
Lake's got a good point. I like being with myself. There's some people that are perfectly happy with their own company.
My sister's like that.
They are fine. But there are some people who retire and it's a nightmare for them because they have all those acquaintances and friends at work that no longer exist. And they're not happy by themselves. So they're lonely. You may be alone, but it doesn't mean you have to be lonely.
You can be alone and you're not lonely, you're fine. It's just a play on words, Buttercup, silence of the Boyt. Just like he's saying, Buttercup asked why it's called silence of the Boyt.
Because it's going down. I truly believe that what you see as a format today, in probably 3 months, will be totally different. After Christmas, I think there's big moves afoot. No one that we know will be monetised, including me. And I think it's for the better, to be honest.
Yes, alone time is actually needed. It's like, I don't know, some people used to think I was a bit cruel, but when the kids got to a certain age, I made them that they had to at least an hour or so do something by themselves in their room or find something to do. And that helped with, like, to get their imagination going and to learn that it's okay to
have your own time,
have quiet time.
Yeah.
So I understand all that because I like my, as I said to the kids, quiet time or your alone time, or sometimes Seeds is watching something on the TV. And usually I sit in there and just put my headset in, or I'll go sit in another room and watch something else or listen to music, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think the end has to come, Buttercup, because I said before you got here that I don't think advertisers should advertise on my channel. None of you guys are going to buy anything that they advertise, so that's money not well spent. I've been in business for a very long time. I wouldn't want my adverts to be on my channel. Who's going to buy my products? So I think YouTube and Google are going to be very discerning about who gets part of the money. Maybe the bigger channels will get more of it and the little channels will just dry up. But we know so many little monkeys down here with organ grinders that will get very upset that their peanuts are no longer provided.
But you have to do what's right for you. You'll stop work when you're ready, and you know when that'll be, and you'll do what you want to do when you want to do it. Hey, that could be a good song.
Sounds like you were singing it already.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Lake. I can remember the times when I did go to school, which wasn't very often, but I wouldn't like all the gossip, and I'm no different today. I was happy just to go out of that area, not interested in belittling people, and so no, I never was like that.
Well, that's the thing. Just sometimes people put too much emphasis and worry about things that's just not worth worrying about. What will be, will be. The future's not ours to see.
Yes,
Sarah. Another song. You'll work it out as just each day comes.
I tell you, and I've said this before to some of you guys, I truly believe inherently in all of us is creativity. Now, I don't know what that's going to be in you. It could be painting, sculpting, making something. You've got it. But during your working life, your creativity is stubbed. You're sort of, haven't got time, haven't got the money. But when you retire, if you've got a creative bone in your body, explore it, is what I'm saying. Maybe start sketching and think, geez, I'm not bad at this.
Hello, Wolf Dad.
Hey, Wolf.
But I think, if you go back in time, me and Wolf will go out and catch a deer, and Susan and Chamo will cook it up, and then we'll start painting on the walls of the cave. Yeah, even way back then, people had expressions of creativity. But in the modern world, it's like frowned upon. And I think when you get the time to do it, explore it. Maybe you're lousy at sketching and painting, but if you don't try it, you'll never know. Boy, the world's changing though. We are in an age group that have paid for a lot of the things that were done for older people now through our working life. But now the governments are not going to pay for yours. They're phasing out a lot of things, aged care and things like that, to the point that you've worked all your life, paid your taxes, looked after the money with older people before you. But now that you're old, the government said it's your responsibility to look after yourself.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
And it's like caught between a hard rock and stone. So a lot of older people have to work.
Chemo paid his house off in August. That must feel good.
Excellent. That gives you security, Chemo.
Oh, can you hear the siren,
Yes,
people?
it's Detective Susan Brown
That's
on her
Susan
way
Brown.
here for
Yep.
a cup of tea and lemons.
She's going to meet up with Lake Shadow to solve the crime.
This is true. What is the right age to retire? I think the interpretation of the word retire would have to be explored first. People I know working into their 70s because they would miss what they're doing now.
Well, my dad retired at, 70, but he still did, he had a big workshop at home and did, what do you call it, blacksmith stuff, what do you call that? Is that it?
Yeah, blacksmith, welding.
With wrought
Yep.
iron and things, so he did that for people, and he fixed the occasional car for the neighbour.
In Australia, the retirement pension, if you like, is quite generous. It's around about $800 a fortnight. Now, if you paid your house off and you're living a good life, basically it was 16, that'd be about $1,800 a month over the 30 days average. You can live quite comfortably. But just like someone just said in text, we've paid into it enormously. That's why you get a pension. You're rewarded for working for society at whatever level, so you get paid. So about $800 a fortnight is a fair income for someone who's not working. You still can, and in Australia, when you turn 62, I've got a couple of years, and I get half of my licensing fees for my vehicle are 50% off. Rates go down 50%. So there's a lot of benefits that they actually give to older people in Australia. So that's a good thing.
Oh, so Susan Brown is a bit of a hunter. Got to watch that one.
She hunts, puts paint on face, wears loincloth, stands on ridge looking at deer in the distance. Then she throws a small pebble and hits it between eyes, and then cooks it over medium roast heat for 2 to 3 hours with a few vegetables. Susan Brown's cooking show.
Yeah, that's true, Paddy.
I think you're right there in one aspect. I think young people's communication skills, Paddy, are a lot to be desired because they don't interact in the real world enough, and they struggle. I think food is so important that you enjoy it, not just to sustain you.
Well, it's just it's a gathering too when you eat.
So is that a fortnight, Shamo? 1,000?
Actually, I don't quite understand. He said it's almost 1,000 for work government, pension, and old age is almost.
Yeah, we
600.
don't have two split. We just have the age pension, which comes with lots of benefits. You get free transportation, public transportation as well. Lots of things. But it's an entitlement for older people because they've contributed to society. That's how it goes. You know, one thing I don't see in a lot of younger people, and I'm sure you would possibly agree with me, is that there's not a great of diversity. All of us, back in the 60s and 70s, were different people. Some of us did conform, some of us didn't, some of us had harebrained ideas. It's not set at 1,000, some get less, it depends on how much you work. Yep, otherwise what you put into it.
I see, yeah.
But here in Australia, it's based on income. If you've got X amount of money in the bank, that would be taken into account as to how much pension you would get. But one thing that is never taken into account, if you own a $10 million house, that's not considered any deduction from the pension. So you could be a multimillionaire with assets, but still receive the pension. We were searching for who we are. They are doing the same. Lake, let me ask you this question. Have you found yourself yet? I would answer, nah. I've got a fair idea. But yeah, it's a good idea is that if you keep searching, you might find it. Yeah, I suppose it's the case of that's how it's working there on a sliding scale. What you put in, you get out. We have private superannuation and government superannuation in Australia, and neither affects each other.
Go Buttercup.
You have sun. Ooh, use it while you can. It'll be about 100 degrees here on Tuesday. I'll show you some sun.
Oh, I'll be looking forward.
And we're only 3
to
months
that.
away from summer.
Oh, 3 months.
January is
I know
summer.
It gets warm here by
No, I know, but officially January the 1st is summer. But by then we've already had 10, 20 days of over 100.
Yeah, but like when we do get warm days, you already look like you've been in the sun for a week.
Yeah, well, I worked all my life in the sun, but
Oh,
you will get the old age. Oh yeah, so that's a fixed amount, I guess, what you're saying, Shamo.
I tell you what, like the first thing that I'm putting in when our extension's built is a proper clothesline, not one of the ones that hang off the wall, because I like to hang my washing out. I don't have a dryer anyway.
Well, you could have any time you like, but we both don't really like them.
Oh no, don't get me wrong, dryers can be a handy item, but it's been years since I've had one. I can't even remember how long. I only had it about 12 months, got rid of it.
There's lots of groups in Australia, like for men, Shamo, if you want to Google Australia and then follow the words with men's club.
Men's shed.
Men's shed?
Yes.
Men's sheds. What it is, all the communities around Australia, they all chip in. The council puts in, builds a building. They have cooking facilities, they have benches installed, tools, and all the old fellas gather and they'll make things for the community or even just for their grandkids, whatever, and they all catch up, some every day, some just a couple of times during the week. But it's a place for them to go. And it's a great idea when you think about it.
They're actually doing now a woman's shed.
Yeah.
So the same principle but for women.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually ring them up and
They'll do certain things around your yard if you like.
Yeah, they do, because some men are retired and some, for whatever reason, just join the men's shed and give their time and teach each other new crafts. We'll go around and help people if they need yard work done or
even some
like
blokes that catch up with each other. One might have been a retired plumber, and another one used to fix windows or something, and they'll go and help each other.
So Paddy's summer is just about over. I'll send you some of ours when it comes. So you're going to get snow, Paddy. Does it snow in Kentucky?
Yep, it does. Depends where you live in Kentucky. Luther's in Kentucky.
Oh, is he? Oh, yeah,
He gets
snow.
a fair bit of snow, but not a ton of it. I grew up as a kid in the snow, where I used to live in the UK. Hated sleet. Snow I could handle. If anyone's lived in a snowy country, you know that you dress for the occasion, but you end up sweating by the time you get home because snow's a great insulator. But sleet is a mongrel. $11,000 per year tax free. Well, in Australia we have called superannuation, which is the same, similar to 401k, but you can take it all out. They can't stop you. You can take all your super out if you want, or you can just take X amount whenever you like. And you're not taxed on that income. Actually, in Australia, Shama, you can earn $19,500. The first $19,500 is not taxable. So if you only earn $20,000 for the year, you'll pay tax on the last 500.
Has it gone up? Used to be 18,000.
Yeah, it went from 18 to 18.5 to 19.5. It's set with indexed inflation, so.
Yes.
So yeah, and if you're retired, you can live nicely on 20 grand a year and not pay any tax.
Yeah, damp is a bit annoying sometimes, isn't it, Patty? If it's damp too long, then your house gets damp inside. You get that damp filling everywhere, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, if you earn, like say, if you earn 18 grand, if you like, you're not going to pay any tax. You don't even have to file. If your house is paid for and you're getting 20 grand a year, you'll live like a king. Probably half of that'll go in costs, vehicle, rates, whatever. But $10,000 is a lot of food. There's no way in the world we'd spend $200 a week on food.
No.
So I think we'd get away with 80.
Oh,
for
we
the
could
pair of
spend
us.
200
Yeah,
if we bought the top line of everything.
If you're eating caviar and lobster every day.
and I bought chocolate all the time.
Mm.
I don't eat caviar.
So, I've tried it, don't like it. Very salty, the one I had.
To bed in a minute.
But life's to be lived.
Likewise.
And retirement is something people either look forward to or dread. You'll be living like a king, Chamo, 24 grand a year, my goodness. You'd have even in that 24, maybe 4 or 5 grand of it that you could do for your holidays, or travel, or buy a boat. Yeah, no, just for you, you're laughing. 24 grand. And the beauty, like I say, if you can get into a position like Shamo and pay your house off, well, you still got to pay something each year to the government. We all know that. We've just paid ours, and it's done for the year, but that's it. Your costs are living costs after that. Electricity, food, gas, toys. Well, the one thing that will happen, Shamo, is it'll come around quick. We'll be sitting talking in a few years' time. You say, yep, I'm retired now. I've taken up gymnastics. He's going to be in the over 60 gymnastic Canadian team.
Oh, is he? Or you can be in the over 60s Australian, and then you can meet up and compete.
We can share joint pain stories. Yeah, that's good. House is done, $4,000 in taxes, I'm laughing. 20 grand sitting on your table. What am I going to do with this? Well, if you're smart, you'll budget a little bit here and there, tuck a bit away. Yeah, that's one thing I always taught my kids, like, and I've always done it,
Yes, good idea, like.
is you have, I always tell the kids 10 grand. Have 10 grand in an account you don't touch. You don't even look at it. And how you get there is you put a couple $100 in every month or every couple of weeks. You can throw it in there. Because sure as eggs, when it comes to a crunch, if you've got 10 grand sitting there you can call upon, there is no problem.
What we always had, bless their souls, when our parents were still here, we had money put aside that if we had to fly to them because we weren't in the same state, that we could do it.
Yep.
That was separate again to other monies.
Yeah, because you just don't know. Like, there are things that crop up. Like, oh, I need a new water heater. And you think, oh, I haven't got any money. No one likes a cold shower. So always have something tucked away.
That's the other thing I used to do, I haven't done it for a while, is always put a couple of notes hidden in our wallets. And
Yep.
just forget about it.
Yep.
And that was for just in case.
Yep, you think you're down to your last $10, then you think, oh, I've got that $50
Yeah.
under my undies. I'm going to grab that. I'm sure every one of you have been through hard times.
Under your undies. I used to put it in the wallets, not under your undies.
I'm just using it as a metaphor.
I know.
I'll slap you, Shamo.
Go to your
I see you donate. Now I'm going to personally fly to Canada, find a narwhal with a long spike, and ask you to bend over. Yeah, no, I mean, I was always an avid saver. I paid my first house off when I was 27. Done and dusted. But I worked hard. My mates would come around with their flash cars, GT Falcon. You know, nice Chevrolet. Look at this. Yeah, it looks good. And they'd say, you got an old bomb. It's terrible. I said, well, it gets me there and back. It's good. And then when I paid my house off, they said, how much are you paying a mortgage on this? And I go, I don't pay anything. They go, what? If you can get security early, it's a good lesson. Mind you, my first house and land was a long time ago, and it was all up 27 grand. Not really. I'll give you what I think is sound advice, and that is the best way to save money, Shamo, is not to spend it. And then it'll become very easy.
Well, actually, you should be able to. You were making house payments, so keep putting that money away as if you're doing a house payment, Chamo, and don't worry about it. So there you go.
Probably about the same, like, because in Australia, prices are a lot dearer than they are in the US, so it might be comparable at the time we paid it off. Mine was 1981 or 82 or something like that. Yes, we're personally, Lake Shadow, you and I are personally allowed to beat the crap out of Shamo as soon as we see him donating to a scammer. We will be retribution. Lake will play the good guy and I'll play the bad. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, I should say, good lady. That is the secret. However you've been living now really won't change.
That's right.
It's like you will save money because there's costs that you incur now that you won't be doing. The extra gas you're paying now, it'll still be gas, but it won't be the amount you're paying now.
But that's why I said if he's used to paying his mortgage, just keep putting that money away as if you were still paying your mortgage.
Yeah, that's also a good idea. If you're earning the income and paid your mortgage off, whatever you were paying in a mortgage, plough it into savings.
On that note, I'm going to go in and go to bed.
Yep, we're going to go. It's time for bed here. Great catching up with you guys. I always enjoy good conversation with good
And
people.
send those poems.
Oh yeah. The boy stood on the burning deck. His feet were all on fire when Lady Jane approached him. Anyway, on that note, we should go to bed. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.